Hey everyone, let me know when you're in here. Should be alerting everyone now. Here's David. How do I get you in? Hi guys. Perfect. David's request. Good. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 4. I can't believe it's episode 4 already. We would love to know who's in here. Hi, David. You're on.
Hi. Yay.
It's working.
Yay.
Yeah, let me know, you guys, if you've tuned in for previous episodes, or give us a hashtag live, hashtag new if you're new, so we can connect with you. Hashtag replay if you watch this on replay. As we're doing this live, many of you can send in some questions and stuff as we're going, and we'll try and answer a couple of those as well. So to give David a brief intro, David J. Brown is the author of, is it 16 books now?
I think it's 16 books. I'm losing count.
Does get to that level. 16 books about consciousness, the future of evolution, mostly known with connection with me with Lucid Dreaming. He's got a great book called Dreaming Wide Awake, Lucid Dreaming, Shamanic Healing and Psychedelics. Also have a book called The New Science of Psychedelics, which is another great one. He has a master's degree in psychobiology from NYU and has appeared in many, many TV shows, podcasts, radio shows talking about this. Anything else to add to your intro, David?
I think you've covered it pretty well. Yeah, I worked with MAPS for 5 years, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, and I worked with British biologist Rupert Sheldrake for 5 years. I did all the California-based research for 2 of his books about psychic phenomena in animals. Yeah.
I love that, because I did that for my research project in the first year of my master's as well. Super cool. All right, so let's dive in. So David, you've been doing this for a long time. How did you get started in this field? Like, why are you into dream work at all?
Well, I've been fascinated with dreams ever since I've been a young child. I always had very good dream recall, exceptionally good dream recall. I had a lot of nightmares as a child, which made me very interested in dreaming. What really got me interested, though, in lucid dreaming was when I was a teenager, and I had my very first psychedelic experience with LSD when I was in high school. And around 2 days after that profound, mystical, transcendental, transformative experience, I had a lucid dream where I became awake in the dream while it was actually happening and was able to influence what was going on. I wasn't educated enough at the time to really understand the full potential of what was possible. But I realized when I read Carlos Castaneda's book around a year or two later, Journey to Ixtland, that when he was talking about conscious dreaming, that was what I had experienced. Not only that one time with after my first LSD trip, but it started happening spontaneously. It'd be like once a month or so. I just started spontaneously having them. It wasn't until I met Stephen LaBerge, the Stanford researcher who made lucid dreaming really a science and popularized it. I met him through my friend Oscar Janiger, who was a psychiatrist who was doing research into LSD and creativity at the time. And it was my interactions with Stephen and reading his book, Lucid Dreaming, and we did a presentation together, and I spent a lot of time talking to him about this. And it wasn't until I interacted with him that I understood all the incredible potential that lies within lucid dreaming, all the different things you can do, and that there were also techniques that one can learn that increase the probability of having a lucid dream. So it was really through, a spontaneous experiences happening as a result of doing psychedelics, or maybe because also I was meditating a lot. I started meditating when I was 14. And relation between meditation and having lucid dreams. So whatever the factors were, they led me to have it spontaneously, but I didn't understand their significance until my interactions with Stephen LaBerge, who was one of my really big mentors and taught me about the potential and the techniques for lucid dreaming. And ever since then, I've been practicing the techniques and keeping accurate records. I've been keeping a dream journal for 25, 30 years. And I use that as the basis for creating the foundation for my book, Dreaming Wide Awake.
That's so cool. I love that. Have you had that experience again since then, like using psychedelics and then having spontaneous lucid dreams? Is that quite common?
Yes, it's common not only for me, but for many other people that I spoke to. Anytime I've ever done a psychedelic, I almost always have a lucid dream within a couple days of doing it, especially MDMA, and those seem to be the two. I've spoken to many people who have done ayahuasca and ibogaine, or iboga, and they have usually a lucid dream within a day or two that is somehow connected to the psychedelic experience they had. It adds more insight. They get greater insight into what actually happened. And sometimes the lucid dreams continue for many, months or even years or indefinitely. So sometimes it sort of opens something up in us. And it's not like you need to keep doing psychedelics to keep having lucid dreams. There are many techniques for being able to have lucid dreams, not necessarily on command, but by increasing the probability. And once you've learned how to do it and had your first lucid dream, then it's much easier for them to happen. But psychedelics do seem to have a very, very strong connection to lucid dreaming. And I've spoken to said they had their first lucid dream within a couple of days of their first psychedelic experience.
Yeah. And what would you say are the similarities, between the psychedelic states and the lucid dream states for those who maybe have been lucid dreaming but not tried psychedelics, or for those who've tried psychedelics but have never had a lucid dream?
Right. Well, first of all, I got to say, it can't tell you how much it surprised me that no one had ever written a book about the connection between psychedelics and lucid dreaming. It seems so obvious to me. There was such an obvious connection. And people were just scared to associate psychedelics with anything for years. It was demonized, ridiculed, ignored by the mainstream media. And as a result, things like alternative medicine, things like UFO abduction, things like psychic phenomena, that there were so many areas of science that were somehow connected to psychedelics that were already controversial, and people did not want to associate them with psychedelics when they were already trying to get people to take them seriously. So that was part of the reason it hadn't really been associated in previous books or anywhere that I had ever noticed. But some of the similarities, I would almost say that a lucid dream is like bringing waking consciousness into the dream experience. And a psychedelic experience is like bringing dream consciousness into the waking experience. So they're kind of, bringing elements of the other state of consciousness and creating a hybrid state. So they're very similar in that sense. When you're having a lucid dream, your senses are tremendously enhanced. Everything around you, the colors are brighter. There's an incredible connection between what you think and what you believe and what actually happens, which is also another similarity with psychedelics and the kind of synchronicities that people often report with psychedelic experiences. I have in my book actually about 2 pages of where I go through all the different similarities. But one of the most interesting things about psychedelics and dreaming is that people can actually do a psychedelic inside of a lucid dream, a dream psychedelic. They can smoke DMT, for example, in the dream and actually have a full-blown psychedelic experience. And people report that sometimes their psychedelic experiences, their lucid dream experiences are so profound and so transformative that their lives are changed as a result. They become more spiritually aware, they get into meditation practices, and different things like that. So they can have the same type of transformational effects and psychological long-term effects that psychedelics have in terms of healing people from traumas and helping people become more spiritually aware.
I totally agree. And I think one of the great things is, if you're someone who's going to do psychedelics, especially the ones that maybe last quite a long time, like ayahuasca or LSD or MDMA or these things that, you know, usually it takes the best part of a day or more to kind of go through the whole motion. The great thing about it is if you want to tap into that state in the lucid dream, you can turn it on and turn it off at your own will. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to cancel work the next day or all those kind of things. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about winding up in jail either for using
Good point. Awesome. We had a couple of questions come in from our audience who were asking about the effects of smoking weed and lucid dreaming.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that because I have incredible dream recall ever since I've been a child, and I've been using cannabis ever since I've been a teenager. Even when I use cannabis, I have much better dream recall than the average person. But if I use cannabis regularly and I stop after about a week, my dream recall goes through the roof. I mean, I can remember hours, details, incredible details from my dreams. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, there's scientific studies have shown that what cannabis does is it suppresses the REM period of sleep, the period where we're going through rapid eye movements, where people are actively dreaming. So people usually report less dream recall when they're using cannabis regularly. This isn't the case with everyone. I've spoken to numerous people who tell me their dream recall is better when they use cannabis. And I know some people who actually, you're one, and I know some people who tell me that what they'll do is they'll wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, after sleeping for about 5 hours, and take one hit of cannabis and then go back to sleep. And then that often will trigger a lucid dream. A lot of people also use cannabis as a way to stimulate lucid dreaming. Even if it does suppress dreaming for a while, it then increases dreaming afterwards. So you can suppress it for a few days and then stop, and then your dreams go through the roof, and you'll find that you're much more likely to have lucid dreaming. So there's a very interesting association. I also want to mention, when I say that cannabis suppresses the REM stage of sleep, that doesn't mean that your sleep is any less healthy, because they've done scientific studies where they show that if you suppress REM and you keep waking people up, they will eventually have incredible psychological problems, and they can't even carry on the experiments. Whereas people who use cannabis don't seem to have those psychological problems. So my theory is that what cannabis is doing is it serves a lot of the same function as dreaming. In other words, it moves information from your unconscious mind into your conscious mind. That seems to be the main function of dreaming as a biological function. So I think that people who use cannabis, the insights, the revelations that they have are actually material being moved from their unconscious mind into their conscious mind. So dreaming isn't quite as necessary. And you then spend a longer period of time in the deeper and more restorative stages of sleep.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've loved following you on Facebook when you do your kind of cannabis fasts, and then you get like every single day these amazing lengthy lucid dreams coming through, and it's crazy how it works like that for you. Yeah,
it really is amazing.
Jeff saying, I've taken peyote in lucid dreams as well as DMT, and the experience was even more profound than while awake. And another person.
And that goes to show you it's not the drug. Your mind has the capacity to go into these states of consciousness without the drug. So just doing them in a dream, and you can have a profound psychedelic transformative experience. Yeah.
We got another comment coming through saying, you mentioned your dream journal. Is that a good way to get started with lucid dreaming? I'm new to this concept. Yes.
Can't emphasize that enough. That is probably one of the single most important things if you want to start lucid dreaming regularly, is to start keeping a dream journal. Start writing down every dream that you remember every time you wake up. Even if you just remember the tiniest little fragment of the dream, write that down. If you can't remember any fragments of the dream, write down how you feel, just your emotions that you feel when you wake up. The more attention, the more dedication that you put into this, the more you'll start remembering your dreams. You'll find that if you just remember a tiny fragment, just writing down that one fragment, sometimes other things start to remind you, and you start to, and it starts to come back to you more and more. And sometimes I find I can remember, much more of a dream once I start writing it, or using an audio recorder sometimes if you don't want to turn on the light. Sometimes what's also helpful is just to, if you're just woken up from a dream and you can't recall it that well, just to lie there with your eyes closed for a little while, and that sometimes helps you to bring the dream back. There are also supplements you can take that help to increase dream recall. Vitamin B6 is one of them. Should never be taken with tryptophan, by the way, but vitamin B6 does help to increase dream recall, as does Kalia zakatiki, the Mexican dream herb, and Silene capensis, the African dream herb. So there are ways to increase dream recall, but that's one of the first and foremost ways to start and embark on your adventures with lucid dreaming.
Yeah, we'd love to hear a bit more about your experience with supplements and dream herbs. Do you have any favorites, any that you absolutely despise?
Yeah, for my book, I bravely tried, dozens of different nutritional supplements, herbs, and drugs to see what kind of effect they had on dreams, dream recall, and on lucid dreaming. I found a number of herbs that increased or seemed to increase dream recall and influence my dreams without actually increasing my probability of becoming lucid. The herbs that fell into that category were the two that I just mentioned, the Mexican dream herb and the African dream herb, Kalia zakatiki and Silene capensis. If you're interested in dreaming, these herbs are certainly worth trying because they will enhance your dreams. And some people report greater lucid dream recall with it. I didn't experience that. I just had crazy, wild, weird dreams that I remembered better, but not a higher incidence of lucid dreaming. Another herb that falls sort of into that category that's very easy to get, these are easily to get online, by the way, and of course all legal, is mugwort. Mugwort is very cheap, and it's worth trying. Mugwort, almost for everyone, increases dream recall and the vividness of their dreams. And for me and for other people, also sometimes lucid dreaming, because it seems to increase the probability of sleep paralysis as well, which can actually be kind of frightening. The caveat that I would put here with talking about mugwort is that a lot of people do report that their dreams become darker, and there's a to the mugwort that doesn't seem to be present with some of these other dream enhancing herbs. So I've had lots of very interesting dreams with mugwort and found it very helpful, but I've also had many dark dreams with them and found it almost kind of forceful in a way, I guess is the best word to use with it, but also had very insightful and interesting dreams. It's commonly used for astral projection and for paranormal phenomena and different things. It definitely has interesting dream enhancing properties. The herb that I found to be the most helpful in terms of actually increasing the probability of having lucid dreams was velvet bean, which is a herb that's used in Ayurvedic medicine for years, and has an amino acid in it called L-dopa. And L-dopa is converted to dopamine in your brain, which is a stimulatory neurotransmitter. And you'd think it might, interfere with sleep, but in my case, it never really did. But it dramatically increased the vividness of my dreams and the action in my dreams and the potential for lucid dreaming quite significantly. I've had many lucid dreams using velvet bean. For many people, the holy grail of lucid dream supplements is, of course, a cognitive enhancer that's called galantamine, which is also legal and easily available on Amazon. It's used primarily for people who have cognitive decline, senile dementia. It's used to help improve cognitive functioning and memory and concentration and that sort of thing, because it increases acetylcholine levels in the brain. Many people find that if they take between 4 and 8 milligrams before they go to sleep, some people say almost 100% of the time they will have a lucid dream. It's that effective for some people, and there doesn't seem to be any real danger associated with this. So it seems, if you're really interested in lucid dreaming, other things haven't worked. This seems like it's something worth trying. in my own experience, I'm sad to say I never had any success with it, because I am just too sensitive to stimulants. And I tried it on 4 different occasions at various dosages. And each time I found that it just was too stimulating and I couldn't fall asleep on it. So in my own case, it was just too much of a stimulant to work well for me. But it seems safe, and it's easy to get, and it seems like it's something worth trying if everything else fails.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for giving so many different varieties, because as you said, you know, it can be different person to person. For me, galantamine works great, but I actually have that effect that you were talking about with mugwort, where when I use galantamine, the dreams get pretty dark, and there's usually a lot of strange kind of demonic entities that are around. But then for other people, it's not like that. So it's great to, experiment.
Yeah.
I had another really cool question come through from someone saying, I learned lucid dreaming reading Castaneda's books, and I used the hand reality check, but for some reason that doesn't work anymore. Why? So maybe we can talk a bit about reality checks.
Yeah, that's an important point. Interestingly, that's when I had my first lucid dream spontaneously, but I first read about it in Carlos Castaneda's book, Journey to Ixtland, was when he talks about lucid dreaming, and I immediately recognized that's the phenomena that I was experiencing. Looking at your hands is not really a very good reality test. People find that looking at your hands in a dream, that your hands sometimes look different. There'd be a different number of fingers, or something is quite odd about it. But that's usually not the best reality test. I find for myself one of the best techniques for having lucid dreams is to get into the habit of asking yourself around once an hour that all-important question: am I dreaming right now? And when you ask yourself that question, you have to do what's called a reality test. And there are 2 really good ones. The one that I use the most is picking up a book or picking up something with written material on it. Look at what it says, look away for a moment, look back, and see if the words have changed or not. In a lucid dream, they will change almost every single time. In fact, if you even just watch the letters, they'll just morph before your eyes. So just staring fixedly at letters or looking away and looking back is a really, really good reality test. Another great one is simply pinching your nostrils closed. Of course, in this reality, you won't be able to breathe once your nostrils are closed through your nose, but there's a sort of glitch in the dream matrix so that you have no problem breathing through your nostrils when they're pinched. So that's another good thing to do. So you should get in the habit of trying this around once an hour. Set your alarm on your watch to go off once an hour and ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? And do not say, oh, of course I'm not dreaming, because if you do that, you're going to carry that habit into the dream, and say that when you're dreaming, you have to do these reality tests diligently and take the question seriously and answer them, by actually testing your reality. And you'll find that if you start doing this regularly, you will start doing it in your dreams, and you're going to be surprised, because you're not going to think you're dreaming when it happens, but you're going to look at the letters and go, oh my God, they're changing, I must be dreaming. And then, of course, the thing is not to get too excited, to stay calm and to try to maybe meditate a little bit in the dream, slow down a little bit of the dream. Otherwise, you get too excited and wake up and you find yourself back in your bed all too quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I love the looking at words and writing as well, because it's great for if you're entering the lucid dream actually with a question, which is what a lot of people use them for. I found a lot of times once you get lucid through using words, you can also ask questions and then have kind of the answer form. Like, again, it kind of all mixes up, and it sometimes tells you an answer or gives you a hint at something. So that's super cool as well.
Yeah. Can I just mention something also in relation to that? One of the very best techniques that I found from learning from a lucid dream, I learned from Robert Wagner, the author of the book Lucid Dreaming. He's the one who taught me to ignore everything in the dream. I mean, first, when you first lucid dream, you want to fly, you want to go underwater, you want to have sex with everybody you've never had sex with. you want to do all these wild things, right? And, and you get bored with that after a while. And then you start interacting with the dream characters, and it's just so fascinating to talk to them and try to figure out if they have their own consciousness or not. But Robert Wagner taught me to do something different, which I find just extraordinary. And I do this almost every time I lucid dream now. And that is to ignore your entire environment, ignore the characters, ignore everything going on around you, and just lift your head up to the sky and ask questions and talk to the dream itself, to the dreaming mind. There's an intelligence that's orchestrating the dream, and you can communicate with it. And that intelligence actually knows you better than you know yourself. And it's almost like talking to the spirit in an ayahuasca journey, or your higher self, or something like that. It's or God, or some kind of divine intelligence, whatever it is. It's an intelligence that you can dialogue with, that can teach you about yourself and knows you better than you know yourself. So I just mentioned that when you talked about asking questions to the dream, because that for me is one of the most effective ways. And the dream responds by either talking to you, but right back in English. It'll answer your questions in English, or sometimes it changes the whole dream to sort of show you in, just in the actual, situation that you find yourself in. The dream will be a response. I've also found that sometimes the dream doesn't answer right away. Sometimes the answer comes a couple dreams later. So it's almost like it had to think about it a little bit or something before it gives you an answer. But the answers have come every single time I've ever practiced that technique.
Yeah, that's great. It's another great reason why, it's good to journal as well, not just for recall, but also to look back and look through what you're trying to uncover and see all the links. And dreams work in amazing series and stuff like that, don't they?
Yes, exactly. So important. And also the patterns in your dreams and
yeah.
making. It's very important.
So what's your focus on now for 2020? What are some things that you're up to?
Well, unfortunately, our dream retreat got postponed. That was the most exciting thing I was working on right now. We were supposed to be doing that in a couple of weeks. And so that's postponed until it's going to be safe to fly again. And I'm looking forward to that. We'll continue to keep planning and perfecting that as time goes by. Right now, I'm working on a new book right now. I just completed a book called Women of Visionary Art, which was just published by Intertraditions. And I'm working on a new book now, which is about the future evolution of the human species, if we indeed have one. So I've been interviewing some remarkable people for that. I just interviewed Andrew Gallimore, who is working on a way to keep people in the DMT state for hours or indefinitely. That's going to be some very, very exciting. I just interviewed Graham Hancock and Grant Morrison and some other really amazing people. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I'll be working on that over the next year, and until we can start doing retreats and workshops again. I'm looking forward to being able to start that again.
Yeah, it's such a shame that we've had to postpone, but hopefully it will be even bigger, even better.
Yes.
Now that we've got some more time to work on it.
Yes.
Really cool with the extending the DMT state stuff. What do you think about all of that?
I'm so fascinated by that. I mean, I was so fascinated by Rick Strassman's work. For those people who don't know, his book DMT, The Spirit Molecule, is like reading the most far out science fiction you've ever read. I mean, I don't know why it's not on the front page of the New York Times that completely sane, rational people, when they're given a high enough dose of DMT, will report almost universally that they've had contact with alien beings with higher intelligences that seem to be far more advanced than human beings. And, to just, throw this in the trash bin and say it's a hallucination really discounts the strong reality that people are experiencing and the strong repeatability of it, that it happens. Unfortunately, the research that Rick Strassman did, people were only in this state for maybe around 5 minutes. It's very quickly metabolized. What Andrew Gallimore is doing is creating a a system so that people can be kept in the state for hours by having it intravenously constantly fed into their body the same way an anesthetic is done during surgery, so that the blood levels remain constant, the levels in your brain remain constant. And if there really is something to this, if there really are, extraterrestrial alien intelligences that we can communicate in this other state, this will give us the opportunity to explore that state for hours or for longer, and to be able to bring back information. And I just find this some of the most exciting research going on, because I've personally experienced it, and I know there's something to this. And to be taken seriously by scientists is something I've been hoping and waiting for years. So to see this finally happening is, to me, tremendously exciting. It's going to be going on at the Imperial College in London, is where they're going to be doing these studies. And Rick Strassman and Andrew Gallimore are the ones who are creating the system, and they're in the process of doing that right now.
That's so amazing. What an exciting time to be alive, right? We got the chaos of the coronavirus and everything like that, but at least we've got some really cool research going on to look forward to if we all make it that far.
Yeah, and let me just mention one other really exciting research is that at the Max Planck Institute in Germany, they have been able to, by using transcranial brain stimulation, just a little band that goes around the scalp, they can stimulate the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that's normally dormant when people are dreaming. And when that's stimulated, people will almost always have a lucid dream. So we've now developed a scientific method for lucid dreaming on command. Once that technology is replicated and miniaturized and mass produced and made cheaper, we're going to have machines where anybody can lucid dream on command. So that's more exciting research. And yes, this is a very intense time with the coronavirus going around, and so it's a great time for people to stay indoors and practice lucid dreaming. What a better time to go inside and to be able to travel inside your own mind than right now, when we're in a situation where we really have to stay indoors as much as possible. So this is really a great opportunity for lucid dreamers and meditators and people who want to explore their minds and their consciousness in greater ability. So.
Definitely. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know we've gone on to 30 minutes now, but just before we finish, and whilst we're on this topic, would you be able to say anything about, the lucid dream state and healing and those kind of powers and potentials?
Yes, of course. Well, I have a section in my book. When I spoke to Robert Wagner, he told me that, he publishes a quarterly lucid dream journal, and he says that every single issue, he gets multiple, papers from people reporting their healing phenomena. Unfortunately, there has not been any scientific studies done in this area. There's a few published case reports of people, many anecdotes of people that report healing. In my book, I talk about someone who had a very serious infection in their tonsils. They had accidentally poked it with a skewer and became infected. And in the lucid dream, they looked in a mirror and imagined a glowing white light around their throat. And when they woke up, they said something like 90 to 95% of the infection had cleared up. Mm-hmm. So, it seems like there is really great potential in this for healing. In my own book, I talk about how I use lucid dreaming to heal myself from traumas from childhood. So I think this is a wide open area. Unfortunately, it hasn't been studied enough, but I think that this is something that will be studied in the future. And I think there's enormous, just like psychedelics, enormous potential for healing with lucid dreaming.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. I love that. What an exciting topic, and so many different avenues that you can take lucid dream work, healing work, psychedelic work, and they all mesh together so nicely as well. Anything that you'd like to share or say before we finish up?
Just to reiterate again, this is the best time in the world to be meditating and lucid dreaming right now, because we're at least right here in California, we're on lockdown. We can't even leave our house. For people more interested in my work, you can find out about my books on Amazon. I have an Amazon sales page. Just put my name, David J. Brown, in. My website is www.davidjbrown.com. My middle name, Jay, is spelled out. And you can find me on Facebook, and I'm happy to interact with people and answer questions. And I'd love to do more of these live interviews soon, so we can keep people informed and keep them entertained while they're in lockdown.
Yes, we'll have to arrange another one where we can go for a bit longer. But it was so great speaking with you today, and I hope our dream retreat is not postponed for too long, so that we can join with people in person and do all this cool stuff together.
Yes, indeed. I'm looking really forward to that, and I have great optimistic feelings that it won't be that long.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, David, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Speak to you soon.
Thank you, and sweet dreams, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.